Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. May you be blessed. May the peace of the Almighty rest upon you, no matter where you are up on the face of this earth. Yes, namaste. May the force be with you. Back a couple of years before Betty Brewer, Sammy's mama, died, I got up and went. She had come out of her church and she had broke her hip on the front steps of the church. And, you know, they say in a case like that, a person misses a step, but actually as we get older, our hip breaks first, and that's what causes us to fall down the steps. Because our bones get old and brittle. That's not what I want to talk about. But anyhow, she had broken her hip, and she had COPD for years before that and really struggled to breathe. And so it had really upset Sammy, and she was in Rockdale General Hospital. And I really, I wasn't around Betty that much, around Sammy a lot. And, I wasn't around her a whole lot over those years, even though years before she had went to my church for several years and was a dear member of the church. And so I was sitting at work. She'd been in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, and she was struggling. She broke her hip, and, she's breathing or whatever. And I go into the shop on that morning, and I'm sitting there, and nobody's there, and I sat down in the chair, and my just an overwhelming sensation of spirit just compelled me. When these things happen, we say, did you hear the voice of God? Did Jesus appear? No. But something in my spirit undeniably said, go down to her hospital room and tell her that her time of departure is not now. Now, she knew she was dying because she'd been in bad health for a while and she's of age. She knew she was going to die. That's not what I was saying. But it said, go tell her her time of departure is not now. And it's interesting living openly as a gay man who is discarded by the Christian religion and all people, including family members, about being a child of God. That yet I'm still a very, very spiritually minded man when it comes to the ways of God. None of them won't accept it. That's their choice. But anyhow, I'm sitting there and I have this thing. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to leave. I'm just going to lock the door. I'm going to call somebody and tell them I'm going to be late getting here. I was already at the shop. It was like 7:30 in the morning. My spirit just flooded me out of nowhere. Go to her. Tell her her time of departure is not at hand. And so I don't really call nobody or tell nobody. I just get in my car and get on I-20 and I head to Rockdale General Hospital. I go up, I find out where her room is. I go up to the room. She's not expecting me. I typically don't like to go visit people in the hospital unless I'm asked to come. And not by a family member, but to know specifically that the person that's in the hospital is wanting me to come to visit. So that's just me. So I go into her room and she's like, oh, Eddie, good morning. I'm so glad you come to see me, Eddie. I knew Betty when I was a little boy. She was the only woman I ever knew that could drive a car when I was a kid. I was with Betty the first time I ever ate a McDonald's, and they just had opened up a McDonald's store somewhere around Atlanta, and Betty put me in the car and some other of us and Annette, and she found a McDonald's, and we had never seen McDonald's, had never ate McDonald's, and I always remember Betty took a bite of a Big Mac or whatever the hamburger was at that time, and she looked over and told Annette, she said, you know what, Annette, I think this place might make it. Well, what a prophetess. They did make it. So anyhow, as I walked into her room, Sammy was there. And Both of them were surprised to see me out of the blue. Here I come, walking into her hospital room. And she's laying there in her bed, and I sat on the edge of her bed, and we talked for about a minute, just kind of introducing ourselves or whatever. And then I told her in that voice that people perceive as God. I looked at her and I told her, I said, Betty, my visit here this morning is not a social visit. I said, the Lord spoke to me this morning, and I have something to share with you. And boy, when I said that, the whole energy on that bed, just almost like the bed vibrated. And she just kind of sat up, and I said, the Lord said for me to tell you that this is not the time, that you're going to leave this hospital, and this is not the time of your departure. Oh my God. So before I got that last word out, she raised up her little hands, had IVs all, and just went to speaking in tongues. And she said this. She said, I know that's true. I know that's true, Eddie. I've laid here and thought I was going to die, but something in my spirit said, you're not going to die. But I've been worried sick that I'm about to die. Huh. So I tell these stories right here. But anyhow, she didn't die. She did die. Two or 3 years later, it got worse and worse. She was in bad health, and she went to be with the Lord, as they say. But in that moment, there was something that happened that got me to lock up my shop and drive to Conyers and go into a hospital room unannounced and deliver a message to somebody. We are messengers, all of us. Now, I know that I did this dance over the years where people would not even click like on a Facebook post, but yet would call me at night and say, Eddie, would you pray for me? They can't wrap how anybody that's not a heterosexual male could be a messenger of God. Here's what I would say to that. We are all messengers of God. We are all vessels of the Almighty. We are all God's DNA that's going through this world. So, anyway, I would say this in the last minute or two I got. The old saying of God, maybe the Lord's laid something up on your heart. God does. God does. And so I just wanted to share that with you. No matter what other spiritual-minded, religious-minded people think about you and your circumstances, you might have been divorced 5 times. You might have been in prison. You might be a gay or lesbian prophet or prophetess. Don't let other people make you out to be something you know you're not. Let me just say this. It was very hurtful to me. Not so much now because I'm 65 years old. Back when I was in my 40s, I had a nephew that had died that was 19 years old. And my mama has 2 brothers, Aaron and Bud. And it was Aaron's grandson. And because I had dedicated him as a child and his mother had went to my church, I was asked to speak over him at his funeral. There was a large segment, including Bud and Gary and a lot of them Bratcher people, that would not even go to their nephew's funeral because I was speaking there as a gay man. But I wasn't speaking there as a gay man. That's what they had in their head. I was speaking there as a cousin, as a family member, as a child of God. So beware of religion. A religion that will divide you away from your family is not a religion, it's a cult. And no matter what gifts or callings you might have, never let other people by their unkindness and unholiness diminish anything you have to offer. Namaste. Good night.